have out your Theme 1 Learning Guide. Do you have both of those? Were they in your folder? Okay. They were in here. Because you weren't here last class, right?
She got it in my class.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what I want you to do this morning is use that handy dandy guide. Look over those options there. People choose, right? That's the first thing on there. I'm going to reference it. Do you remember what opportunity cost means?
Yeah.
Someone tell us what's opportunity cost. Who can remember that? Yeah.
You could like go to Starbucks and get a drink, or you could have money for flat fees or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, right. It's an opportunity cost is the next best choice you could have made, but didn't. And it's kind of a weird concept, right? But we all have choices that we make, and every choice has an alternate cost. So if we don't go to Starbucks, then we're making the choice to have money for our lab fees. That's the example we just used, right? So the opportunity cost would be you could have gone to Starbucks, but you didn't because you saved your money for the lab fees. Okay, or for gas in your car, or that kind of thing. So those are opportunity costs. There's always a cost involved. So what I wanted to do, just to review, to use that handy dandy guide, it's super important. Remember, it's a really dumb name for what's called economic reasoning. Fall backwards. For economic reasoning. So we want to think about how we spend our money. Okay. So if you would take a minute with your table partners and look at the handy dandy guide, go over those steps, and try to figure out. Do you guys remember these scenarios from our game that we played, the Millionaire game?
Yeah.
So we always felt like these were kind of weird, so we thought we would make it a little more meaningful for ourselves and use that handy dandy guide. So what choice is being made? What is the cost? Is it voluntary or involuntary? Is the decision long-term or short-term? And what is the gain? So a gain doesn't always, and when we're looking at cost or choices, it doesn't have to be a good thing. Sometimes we make bad economic choices, right? So if it's a gain, it might be a negative gain. If someone decides to spend, $4.97 at Starbucks every day, the gain might not be very good in the long term, right? It's a short-term satisfaction, but it's not a long-term economic gain. So sometimes these are not a positive thing. They might also be a negative thing. So just keep that in mind. So if you would, in your tables, just answer these questions using your handy dandy guide and looking at that scenario. And we're just to kind of warm us up to, kind of start off where we left off before. Ready? Ready, go. It's a long time, right? Is that voluntary?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a choice this person is making. They're not being forced to do it. So it's a voluntary cost. But notice there's multiple choices being made. I think that's really important. It's not just they're not going to spend $1.50 on soda. They're not spending it for a long, long time, and they're investing it. So they're doing multiple things with that $1.50. So short-term or long-term? Long-term. What's the gain?
You have savings when you're older.
Okay, you're saving money for when you're older.
Probably have better teeth.
You'll get diabetes.
Right, you don't have diabetes, right? Or maybe at least it's not from soda. So there's a medical gain here too, right? There's a healthy decision also being made, so we're assuming that they maybe just stop drinking soda. They're like, what am I doing to my teeth? The dentist said, stop that. So we have multiple gains in this case, right? This is a good decision that this person has made. Okay, and so I don't know if we talked in this class, but one of the classes we talked about, probably this person isn't taking $1.50 a day. They figured out how much it is per month, and they probably have that money taken out. It's not like you would go and invest $1.50 a day, because you would have a chart. When we talk about investing, there's usually a fee to get your money into a stock or a mutual fund or whatever you choose. So you wouldn't want to do it that way. You would do a monthly kind of installment. You're just deferring the money that you would have spent on a daily basis per month, okay? Does that make sense how to use the handy dandy guide? Did you look at that and kind of go through there?
Yeah.
Okay. So the opportunity cost is really that this person could have kept, well, I mean, the opportunity cost might be that maybe they didn't invest it, right? They just didn't spend that $1.50 on soda. Maybe they just would have kept it in their bank and had a little bit more, food budget money or something. So opportunity cost is really personal too. It depends on what's best for you. So everyone's decisions are usually different. Keep out your handy dandy guide and take a look at, you have that boring school mystery on each side of your table. Everybody should have a copy of it. So when we talk about opportunity cost and making choices, people say that school is boring. You guys might not, because you love school. But a lot of people say school is boring, so why do people stay in school? If it's so boring, why do we stay there? There should be questions on the back of the boring school mystery. Don't write on this. This is a class set, okay? But what I would like you to do, if you remember on your learning guide on the back, I had you make those boxes. So the boring school mystery is one of the places where you can make some notes. Oops, sorry. I should have told you. It's okay if you mess up. On the back of your learning guide, there should be a little square. You broke it into 3 boxes. So if you would, with your table, you're working in a group with your tables, take a couple minutes to read that, and then just talk about those questions together and make some bullet point notes on your learning guide. Maybe about 1 more minute? Would that be enough time? If you're having trouble too, look at the handy dandy guide. It's all about choices, right? Whether we're staying in school or not. Got it.
One of my kidneys.
What's the first question? Staying in school?
Even then, if you help out, I feel like
Staying.
it's the stigma that comes from.
Okay, what's the cost of staying in school? You have to work hard, and you're not getting paid, technically, right? So you guys are working hard, you're not getting paid. What else?
Balance business.
Okay, there's more of maybe a juggling act between a job, sports, right? You have extracurricular things plus classes. It's very social, whether you like it or not, right? Some people love that aspect, some people maybe don't. What's the cost of dropping out? There is one. Okay, you're forfeiting, right, future wages in a lot of ways. So you might be working full-time and earning more money than you would when you're in school, but your wages are going to top out probably at a certain level. Do you know what I mean? Because you won't have the education to promote through any job. What else? Yeah. Okay, you might have less job security and overall lower wages. What about the social aspect if you're working full-time?
You're so drained, like working full time and going to school is so much work.
Say what? Say again?
Going to school and working full time is so much work. Like you're just drained if you don't have that energy.
Yeah, so, and that's part of staying in school, right? Especially if you're working full time, which I know some of you do, you've got not a lot of social time either, but there's a payoff for you later, right? So you're looking at those choices of, if you look at your handy dandy guide, the choices, and that's a long-term benefit that you're actually getting by doing that. But if you drop out, your social life is more limited by your work schedule, for one thing, right? And you may not enjoy the people that you work with as much as choosing your friends in a school of 2,000 people. You have a lot more choices for a social life, too. Do you agree? Do you think? Okay. Were there any other questions on there that you thought were kind of interesting or made you think a little bit? Well, I like question D. How does the American economic system encourage people to graduate from high school? How are we encouraging you to graduate from high school?
You're going to get more money if you have a diploma than not having it.
Okay, you're going to get more money if you have a diploma. What about our college system? Is our college system a closed-off system where you have to, be in a certain economic bracket or, you can argue that. But there's ways to get loans and stuff, right?
Yeah.
We have loans available, scholarships available. So our economic system is very, very open to anyone who wants to try for it and work hard should ultimately be able to go to college. I know that's like the pretty picture. I know there's lots of elements to that. But for the most part, we're not saying, oh, well, since you guys are in AP, then you all get to go to college, right? And no one else does. That's not how our system works. So there's an incentive there to go on to higher education if you want to. That choice is always open. And then up here we put these median earnings up here. So high school dropout, 23,000. High school graduate, 32,000. And a college graduate, 53,000. That's an incentive right there, which you guys have picked up on, right? The incentive is much higher wages. So if you look at someone who's saving $1.50 from 18 to 67, that's really like your working career life. If you think about the difference in wages here for all those years too, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That if you drop out of high school, that you're just sacrificing, that you wouldn't be making. Questions? Do you find that interesting? I know you guys know a lot of this, right? It's pretty common sense. But I think it's good to talk about. It's kind of where we're going. It's getting us to think about choices that we make with our finances. And where I want to go now is
Is it voluntary or
what?
Going to high school, is it voluntary?
Well, that's a really good question. Is going to high school voluntary or involuntary?
It's mandatory. Yeah, until you're like 17.
Until you are old enough to get permission, right? You have to have your parents sign off that you can drop out.
So it's kind of both.
It's a little both, right? Because we have laws, right? We don't just want like kids roaming the streets, those kinds of things. But the fact that our public school system is paid for but through taxes is huge. A lot of countries around the world, after 8th grade, high school is, and a lot of times during school, you start paying for it too. And so there really is, that really is not an open system when a family can't afford to send their child to school. That's a whole other element there where we don't have that. Everyone works together to pay taxes that helps us get all of our kids to school. So where I want to go now is to keep those handy-dandy guides out, but we're going to start, so we're getting into a decision-making model. So you guys raise your hand if you know that you are going to live in a dorm next year. Like you know that. Okay, raise your hand if you know that you're going to be commuting next year, maybe to school.
Or pretty driving too, you're not going to live on campus.
You're not going to live on campus, yeah, and it may be driving from Carson, and maybe driving from wherever you live. Okay, so we have sort of a nice mix here. So we're going to look at, and this is kind of what I was saying on our first day, the other day, in terms of making good choices. There's a way that we can kind of lay this out and be very thoughtful about some of these decisions, because you guys do have some huge life decisions coming up. And one of the huge factors in all of this is how is it going to get paid for? You might have parents, grandparents, yourself, working, all those, student work type things. So we're going to go through a couple scenarios where we're going to practice thinking about how to think about financial decisions, okay? And we're going to use this thing called the 5-step decision-making process, but, so I have another class reading. There's a lot of like little readings in here. So you guys don't have to write on this. You don't have to put it on your learning guide. But I would like you to talk about it with your table partners, and there's some really important terms in here, such as the word scarcity, which is on your learning guide, human capital, which I believe is also on your learning guide. You are welcome. Here we go. So just take a couple minutes to read over this. In this case, are you guys confused about the idea of capital?
No.
Yes.
Because I think of capital as money. A lot of times we think of money as capital. In this case, it's not. That's just a way to exchange. Money is used as a form of exchange. Capital here is, capital resource would be something that's used to produce other goods, So a factory, the building, machinery used, that's what we refer to as capital. Something you can touch. It's tangible things that produce goods. Okay, it's a little bit different than you might have heard of money being referred to. In this, it's a little bit different. Yeah?
Well, you said something you can touch, and I don't really think it's like the factory building itself, but it's more so the actual objects, like the car has value because you can sell it and you can get something out.
Yeah, but if you're producing goods, you're going to need a facility. I'm just thinking like the facility that you would produce a good in, the machinery that goes there, the trucks that you're driving to move it around, those kinds of things. Even like buying the raw materials, to produce something else would be capital. This could be wrong for sure. Why is there no such thing as a free lunch?
So that people have to pay for it.
Because of scarcity.
You have to make a choice. There's a cost to everything.
Okay, we're always making choices. There's a cost to everything. Yeah.
Other people have to pay for it, like it comes from other things.
Okay, so yeah, and so if I get invited out to lunch and my friend buys me lunch, maybe I was going to be getting ready to teach this class for you guys. So now I'm not doing that, right? There's the cost. For me, is time that I'm not getting ready to teach this lesson. So what about free food samples at Costco? Yeah. Or anywhere. I mean, lots of grocery stores. If you don't go to Costco, that's fine. But, free samples in general, right? Are those free?
No.
Why not?
Has to pay for them. Like they're using part of their food to make. So I guess.
No, you're right. It's not free,
say,
right?
Yeah.
Who's paying for the free samples?
Companies.
The company, right? So the food product that's being sampled is just kind of, they are giving those away, right? But was it free for them to produce that food? No, absolutely not. And then usually there's an employee there, right? So someone's getting paid. They're not just passing out those free samples on their own time, right? So there's a cost to Costco or Rayleigh's or whoever's doing it. So there's an hourly wage. There's the food that was made. It's not free at all. So why do they choose that? Why do they choose to give out free samples?
Because it brings more attention to the buy.
Because what?
They try to make you buy it. Like if you like it, you're going to end up buying it. And they
Right.
hope to get more business by doing that.
Okay, you're going to get more business. You're going to increase sales. There must be something there, right, that says you're going to increase sales if people get to sample the food. Okay. What else? I mean, let's get a little deeper here. What else happens when you're sampling food? Like think about your shopping experience when you're sampling food. You might be in a better mood. You might stand around more and start looking around a little bit more. You might circulate differently because of the food that's being offered. You're going to go seek them out. You guys do that? We're like, who's out there? Right? So you go and look for them. So all of those things there's a choice there that's not free, and you might have run in to get one thing, but now you've stopped at 10 different areas, so even your choices have changed because of those food samples. You know what I mean? Like it's a sort of a snowball effect, really, of genius if you're trying to increase your sales and stuff like that. It's pretty sneaky. And do you ever notice like Costco moves their stuff around too? So that you can never find anything around here? Yeah, but they do that on purpose because they want you to circulate. They don't want people coming in for one thing and jumping out. They want you to look at stuff they have in there. So those are all choices that are made that ultimately mess with our choices too, in terms of if you're running in and running out maybe on your lunch hour or before you go to meet some friends and your parents tell you to go do something, it changes, it's affecting you too, right? It's using up more of your time, your free time, maybe. So in terms of looking at that, I wanted to talk to you about, wrong paper, our resources. So when we look at, we sort of talked about capital resources. What about human resources is really, really important. What does that mean, a human resource? Or human capital, sorry. I'm talking about human capital. What kind of capital do you guys provide?
Work.
Huh?
Work and labor. Oh, it's human resources.
Well, human resource, human capital, same thing. What do you guys bring to a job?
Your time and your energy.
Okay, you might have a lot of energy. You're bringing your time. If you have to work with the public, should you be a people person?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You should be able to talk to someone and look them in the eye, right? And be nice and polite. If you're not, are you bringing as much human capital to that job as someone who is? Not at all, right? So sometimes, some of our, computer people. So I've noticed when I go to Office Depot to get help with my computer, some people are much more good at working with me in terms of my computer. But they're very good at computers. Some people are very good at computers, but they might not be very personable. They're just kind of like, yeah, what's the problem? And then, it's kind of like, really? Kind of like it's almost like I feel like I'm stupid, which I am with computers, but they don't have to make me feel that way, right? That's not very good customer service. They should, So it's those kinds of that human capital. So the people that they have in there that are good with computers and also good with people, if that's your job, is to help the general public fix their computers, they're bringing more human capital to that job. They're more valued in that position, just based off of their personality and their skill. It takes both, right? If you end up having a job where you never have to deal with people and you don't have good people skills, then that's not a component of your value, right? But a lot of times we do have to work with the general public. Does that make sense? Okay? So even if you are really good at something, you also have to be able to interact with other humans sometimes. Let's see. So all these things, I can't find anything today. Sorry. All these things are going into making decisions, right? Everything we do, there's some kind of decision that has to be made, whether it's the company giving out free samples, or it's a friend offering to take you out to lunch. You're making a decision, or someone's making a decision there and it has a financial incentive at the end of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at an actual scenario. Do you guys want to are you getting too many papers? Do you want to pass them in? Inwards or onwards? If you don't already have it out, get out your Theme 1 Learning Guide, because it has a 5-step decision-making process on it there. And we're going to reference that right now. I'm gonna trade you, we're gonna look at an actual scenario where someone is gonna make some choices. I'll come around and get the other handouts here in a minute.
Mrs. Caswell,
Yeah.
it's a 2-page handout.
Huh?
Did she each get 2 pages? They weren't staples.
Oh, wait a minute, what? Ah!
Hold on, you collect the old ones?
Shoot,
I'll patch these.
My brain can't even handle that.
So that goes on
Thank you,
together.
sir. Okay, hold on, we made a boo-boo on the, I passed those out wrong. Ah.
So if you're smart, I'll pass it. Staple it. Yeah, and it's like,
But I want,
if you will staple for me. Okay, so you got, sorry, you get that.
did I get these?
Oh,
Oh, I see. Can you guys organize? I'll be back.
Who are human resource now?
Yeah, be a human resource for me, that'd be awesome. Okay. Boring school history and decision making. Oh, thanks. Sorry about that.
Let's ban her day here at Mrs. Jones.
Thank you. Would you still pop?
Oh, they're all well, this is good.
If you want to go that right, you should pay me.
That's right, I know. I'm helping you for your future. All right. Does everyone have, are we all set up?
No.
No.
Do you still have more than 3.2? There we go. How many?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, you go ahead. I'll finish.
Okay.
Oh,
We're taking this. You're keeping that. Yeah.
and then I need to.
I'm taking these. So you should each have, yeah, you should each have this. Can I sample this for one second? Okay, so I messed up when I passed those out because I did not realize what was going on. You should have 2 pages. They both say 3.2. The first page says personal decision making, and then Maria's decision making grid. Have both of those, please. Okay, do you have them all now? Who needs one still? You guys are good? All right.
You guys good?
Okay. Sure, I got it. Okay. You need a second. You need one more second. Second page?
Because it is.
Well, yeah? Okay. Whew. That's tough. Okay. Everyone has a first page and a second page, right? You've got a personal decision making there that's about a girl named Maria. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the steps that, we're going to use a sample that we can understand. So we're going to look at the situation that this young lady Maria has in terms of some huge decision that she's making for next year because she's going off to college. And she's looking at options, okay? And then we're going to, we're going to rate using the steps that are on your learning guide. There's a 5-step decision-making process. We're going to define the problem. We're going to list alternatives, state criteria. We're going to go through these steps together so that you guys can then do it on your own. Okay? So for now, just read her scenario. And they're going through defining the problem, the alternatives, criteria. Do that first, but then don't fill out that table. Stop when you're done reading so we can do the table together. Okay? So what is our problem? And in this case, I kind of feel like we need to write on this one. So, what is Maria's problem?
She has to go to school to go to.
Deciding, right? She's deciding which college.
Yeah.
You can write on this one. I feel like I'm making an executive decision because you're gonna be making your own decision-making grid. So I think it's just easier to practice on this. So notice on so we've defined the problem. If we're looking at our 5-step process, we define the problem, right? And it's really a choice. It's not really a problem, it's a choice. What are her alternatives? You can see them right here on the table that she made. What are her alternatives?
State university, local.
Right, it's right there. State university, local community, or private. So those are her choices. She knows she's interested in marketing too. You got to keep that in mind as well. And then we're going to state the criteria. Her criteria are laid out really nicely at the very last part of the reading. And then it's listed across the top of her decision-making table. Okay? So her criteria is low cost, quality programs, personal attention, close to home. That's what's important to her. So what we're going to do, we're going to evaluate alternatives. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to assign a number system. Okay? So you're going to choose between a +5 equals the best choice. A -5 would be the lowest choice, worst choice. And anywhere you have a range. So you could +4, right? +3, -4. So anywhere in there, you've got a range of options there, and we're going to fill in that table based off of how that criteria fits with the alternatives. Does that make sense? Should we do this together?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're looking at the state university and the cost of it, what does it say? You'll have to go back to the reading. What does it say about the state college tuition?
It's reasonable. Yeah, it's reasonable.
It's reasonable. So what would we rate that as?
+3.
Probably a +3. I agree. Okay, so here's state. Local what?
Plus.
It's the best, right? Because it's the cheapest, right? What about the private? Okay, tuition is expensive. Private college gives scholarships and loans, but the cost would still be higher than the cost of the state university. So maybe, yeah, like maybe a +1. Okay, because it sounds like she's a good student, right? She might qualify for some of the financial aid. So let's look at. Does everyone understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Me too. Okay. Let's look at the programs. So she's interested in marketing. I said that at the beginning, right? So what is the state university? They talk about.
It's good. It's very great.
Highly ranked nationally, business school and marketing. Okay. How do we want to rate that then? +5?
Well, yeah. I mean,
What do you guys think? What about community college for the program?
+2.
What does it say about it? 2 years.
well, some faculty members are.
There are marketing classes, right? While some faculty members are outstanding, Maria's heard that most do not have PhD degrees. Most faculty members at State U do have PhD. The tuition is blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what do you think?
+2.
Maybe a +2? And then the private, what do they say about marketing?
The college offers marketing courses.
Because it doesn't say like amazing.
4.
It doesn't sound like it's nationally ranked compared to like nationally ranked type stuff, right?
Yeah.
+3?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are doing good. Oh, that's what I would have put. All right. Personal attention.
There's not a lot. Like, there's too many people that have personal attention.
Okay, so state really big classes, right? Large class size.
Like -5.
Give me 300 people in the class.
300 students, very large. Do you want a minus on that?
Minus like
Minus 10.
minus not that
Plus
right.
0.
We'll do a -1. Okay, what about the community college?
It's more one-on-one, so there's a lot more.
40 students? That's pretty darn good, right?
Yeah.
For a class, that would be very personalized.
Let's get a plus.
+3.
Yeah.
And then what about the private school?
That one is plus.
+5. So you get a lot of individual attention and help. It says class sizes are small. That's probably one of their big perks on there. And then, what's that last one?
How much time would it take her to drive home?
Okay, so what about the state university?
It's not that far.
It's 100.
150 miles, so maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hour drive.
That's not that bad.
Not that bad.
That's
Okay.
like +2.
+2, I'm hearing. +2. What do you guys think? What do you want?
Let's
Let's just round.
Plus 2.
+3? Okay.